So what I do is I record what goes on in each class. Okay? All it records is what's on the smartboard. There's no camera. Okay? So it doesn't see you. Right? It just sees what's going on the board, and that little thing right there is the microphone. Right? Most of the time I won't be recording your class because I have another Science 10 class earlier in the day, so I'll usually record that one. If I have to record yours, it's because something went wrong with the recording, like I forgot to do it this morning, okay? Or I swore at somebody and I don't want to put that on YouTube or something, not really. Okay? It's usually just that I forgot or something happened with the recording, got corrupted, didn't work. Okay? But I will record it and I will post it, and I'll link back to it in Google Classroom each day. So if you're not here, that's where you go. Okay? Because I do it in period 1, if you're stuck at home, it'll probably be done by the end of period 1, and you could check it early if you want. Okay? That's how we'll do that. So if you want to be successful, you got to be here, or if you're not here, you've got to be staying caught up. Okay? Kind of one of our biggest problems before all of this was people taking holidays during school days. Okay? It's obviously not advisable to miss 2 weeks of school. Okay? If that's the case, if, now that things are returning to normal, if you're taking off on holiday with your family for 2 weeks, know that you need to stay caught up. Like, you may be on holidays, but you're not really, because we're still doing stuff here, and the expectation is when you return, you'll be right where we are. Okay? So just kind of be aware of that. That includes labs, assignments, and things like that. I make it so that even if you're not here on the day we do a lab, you can still get it done. Okay? During the pandemic, we recorded, videoed all of our labs, including measurements, so we have videos for each and every one of them. Okay? If you're not here or something went wrong with your experiment, you can always just review the observations video and get everything you need. Okay? So there's no reason to not be able to hand stuff in even if you're not here. Okay? And so that'll be the expectation. Lates. Your class begins promptly at 1:54. Okay? So make sure that you are in this door and in your seat by 1:53:58. Okay? If you are outside that door after 1:54, you will find it in the closed position as it is right now. If it is in the closed position, please wait on the other side of it. Don't knock. Okay? I'm trying to minimize the disruptions. Okay? So if you are late, just wait out by the window. I'll see you and I'll let you in when it's not a disruption to everybody else. Okay? We take lates pretty seriously because it is a disruption to everybody else, and you miss stuff if you're late. So if you are late a lot, you will get to know our administrative team. That's our principals. Probably don't want to know them that well. They're cool people, but if you're going in there because you've been late a lot, they're going to seem a lot less cool. Okay? So just make sure that you're on time. Okay? All right, second part, the resources that are available to you. I emailed invitations to the Google Classroom to everybody yesterday. All right, so hopefully you've been checking your school email. If you are new to the school, I know that's a few of you, I actually still emailed you on your school account, but you may not have your username and password yet. See me in class today and I will get that for you, okay, because I have access to all of them, and that'll make it possible for you to get access to everything that you need. Okay, so the two big resources, I post everything to Google Classroom. We do everything through Google Classroom. All your labs will be submitted through Google Classroom. All of your assignments through Google Classroom. Okay? The day's activities all get posted on there. Your quizzes get posted on there. All of that stuff is all through Google Classroom. So you've got to be able to use it, got to have access to it. Okay? Your notes packages, your worksheet packages, all of it is there. Okay? And then obviously there's the YouTube channel, which you probably won't ever really go to because I'm just going to link all the recordings back to Google Classroom. But if you're morbidly curious, okay, it looks like this. Okay, and there's a section for Science 10 organized by unit. All of those will disappear because those are from last semester, and I'm going to take them off, okay, and reset it with new stuff from this semester. But you can go there too, okay, if you ever needed to, although I don't know why you would need to. And you certainly don't need to subscribe to that channel or anything like that because I'm not making a dime off of it, okay? Even though my subscribers went up by like almost double during the pandemic for some reason, okay, it went up, I'm still not making a dime and have no intention to monetize it or anything like that, even though YouTube now plays ads on everything. Okay, so don't worry about that, but it does link back to there, so if you get brought to that page for any reason, that's why. Okay, so with Google Classroom, hopefully you've already done this, but you'll see in Google Classroom that you've been invited to join that class. Okay, make sure that you do that. And once you do, you'll see the usual Google Classroom screen with the stream, okay? And in there, you'll see the two things I put in yesterday. That's the worksheet packages and the notes packages, okay? They're also in the classwork tab, okay? These are things you are definitely going to need each day, all right? So you got some choices on how you do this. Whichever works best for you is fine for me. If you want to have paper copies of the notes, by all means, go ahead and print them. Okay, at home, right? My recommendation is if you're choosing to print them, and you don't have to, but if you choose to, print them in black and white, or you're going to be going out and buying another ink cartridge real soon. Okay, save yourself some money. If you're going to print them in black and white. You can always see the electronic versions in color, okay, through here. All right, so what you'll see in here is the day one package. That's the sheet I gave you. Okay, periodic table and data sheet. I will also give you a paper copy of that. Okay, but that's in case you lose yours, and a link to my YouTube channel. But if you click on this assignment here where it says View Assignment, up here where your work is, and it takes a while to load because these are big files, there are 4 Google Docs. These are the notes packages for each unit. Okay, so this is the chemistry one right here. Okay, that's what we'll be working out of for the next 5 or 6 weeks. Okay, it's just the chemistry. So you don't have to print them all at once. Okay, if you're gonna print them, and you don't have to. Okay, but each of you will get your own. So up here where it says Student Code Error for me, your name will be there. Okay, it is your Google Doc. You can modify it, add to it, whatever you want to do to it. It's your notes package. It's kind of your textbook. Okay, there is a textbook for Science 10. It sucks. We don't use it. Okay, we developed our own notes package. That's better. Okay, so that's what we'll be using. Okay, and like I said, you can modify that. Lots of people just put it on their phone and they're typing into it during class. I am totally okay with you having your phone out. Okay, because it's a tool and you're probably going to use it. Or if you have a tablet or a laptop, I'm cool with you having those out as well. Okay, you can make all the modifications to it you want, highlighting things, underlining things, whatever. You can do that all in Google Docs on your phone. Okay, and I'm fine with it if you're doing that. But again, if you want to have a paper copy, that's also fine. Okay, and you'll probably want to write a few other things down. Okay, so you probably will want a few sheets of loose leaf paper. But like I say, this is an editable document for you. Okay, you can do whatever you need to it, and you can't lose it. Okay. It's a file I built. Even if it accidentally disappears for you, I can fetch it back. Okay? Your dog can't eat it. It can't eat your homework unless it eats your computer and the entire internet. Okay? This will not go missing. Okay? Not like the days of, oh, I had all my notes for that whole class in that binder and I lost that binder, I'm ruined. You're not. Okay? That can't happen. Okay, so you'll need all of those, okay? But at least for the next little while, you'll need the chemistry set. And then down below that, okay, is the worksheet packages. Those are also organized by unit. So if you click on View Assignment, they'll appear here. They're organized so that they're for you, okay? And there's only 3. There's no worksheet booklet for Unit 2. There's only worksheet booklets for chemistry, physics, and global systems. And I'm not sure why it's taking so long. There you go. Okay, so they're there as well, right? But they'll have your name on them instead. So that's all the stuff that you're going to need, either in electronic form or in paper form. If you're doing this or using these electronically, little piece of advice: make them available offline. So actually have them downloaded to whatever device you're going to use, because the Wi-Fi can be sketchy. Okay, some days it just goes out, and then you wouldn't be able to access these because you wouldn't have an actual downloaded copy on your phone. Okay, and I would only put whatever unit we're doing on your phone because they're kind of big, and that's why I want you to have them on your phone, because if the Wi-Fi goes down, you're going to be using your data, and they're big files. And you don't want to do that. Okay? I don't want you to hit your data limit. Okay? So just keep that in mind. It's probably a good idea that when you're at home and on the Wi-Fi or wherever, hey, get them on there so they're available online. Okay? All right. Okay, so all of those things are available to you, and obviously you need to use those. Okay, And then obviously each day, as I said, I'll post the day's activity, okay, the day's podcast. That's the recordings, okay, that we're doing right now. All of that will be posted on Google Classroom, so if you're not here, you just go in there, look it up. That's what we did today, that's what I need to do. Okay, it's really useful when you're studying for a unit exam or a final exam. You go, oh, I need to review how to calculate velocity on a position time graph. Where did Mr. Coderre teach that lesson? Scroll through till you find it and you can watch it again. Okay. All right. So yeah, by using those resources, you should always return to class caught up. Okay. The one question I don't want to be asked is, Mr. Coderre, what did I miss? Okay. You come back after being gone for 5 days, unless you're like deathly ill. Okay. And you say, Mr. Coderre, what did I miss? I will tell you exactly what you missed. A lot. And that'll be all I'll say about that. Okay. A lot means, okay, you knew what you were supposed to do. Get it done. All right, for classroom behavioral stuff, okay, the biggest thing is respect, okay, and obviously during the pandemic we learned that there's all these other things we need to respect as well, like personal space, although that was kind of the thing we had to respect before, but even more so now, respiratory etiquettes, all that kind of stuff, okay, so make sure you're treating each other with respect, okay, I'm always going to treat you with respect, okay, you know, need to respect each other's beliefs and choices and things like that. It's okay. I mean, if you want to wear a mask, I'm totally cool with that. No one's going to fault you for wanting to wear one. If you don't want to wear one, I'm also cool with that. Okay, but no one should be made to feel, you know, odd about wearing one. Okay, if you want to wear one, you go right ahead. Okay, so that's kind of those things. So yeah, just make sure you're showing respect to everybody. Okay? When you hear the words listen up is my cue that I need your attention right away. So it could be like, listen up, today we're going to be going over how to name ionic compounds, or listen up, we got to get across the hall to the lab so we can get our experiment done, or listen up, the room is on fire and we have to evacuate. Okay, if I say listen up, I need your attention right then and there. Okay, on the note of fire. Our primary fire exit is in the link. Okay, so the link is this area over by the stairs where there's some tables and a seating area there before you get into the languages wing. Okay, over this way. So if there is a fire alarm, our primary exit is you go out to the left, take a right at the stairs, go out those doors, and go to the back parking lot. Okay, our secondary exit is actually the front doors of the school. Okay, so if that exit is blocked, we go out the front doors of the school and into the front parking lot. If both of those are unavailable to us, then we go out the end of the portables. And that may seem weird because that door is really close, but that door has to empty 8 classrooms. Okay, that's a long time for us to wait in a building that's on fire. So that's why it's our last choice. Actually, our last choice is that. I get to throw the desk through the window if we go that way. Okay, that's the only caveat. Okay. All right. So just keep that in mind. Okay. Work in class. So there's 2 kinds of work that will happen in Science 10. There's the work that helps you learn material, practice things, get exposure to different ways a question can be asked, stuff like that. It's the practice work. I'm not checking that. I'm not marking that. That's the stuff that's in the worksheet packages. It's there to help you learn and practice and hone your skills. Right? So that stuff won't ever be checked for homework. It won't ever be marked. But it's expected to get done. Okay? So if, I'm teaching you how to name ionic compounds, and we get like 10 minutes at the end of class to work on 50 questions, and you only get 5 of them done. I'm not saying you need to do all 50. It's not a bad idea. But you should probably go home and do a few more than 5. Okay? Go home and do some practice. Again, it's not something I'm going to check, but it's practice, it's important. Okay? So that's the first kind of work. The second kind of work is the kind that does get marked. That's lab reports, assignments, and research projects. Okay? Those will be submitted through Google Classroom. I'll mark them, return them to you, and they'll contribute to your final mark. Okay? So those are the 2 types. Okay? They're both important, right? But only one of them is actually going to directly lead to marks. The other one indirectly leads to marks. Okay. Remember that this is high school now. Things are a little bit different. You are responsible for your academic success. Okay? If you choose not to do that work that's not coming in for marks, it is going to affect how well you learn material. We go a lot faster in high school than you're going to be used to. Okay? I used to teach Science 9, and I can tell you that if I taught Science 9 at the pace I have to teach Science 10 in order to finish, I'd be done teaching you Science 9 by the middle of November. Okay? There's not nearly as much material, and it's built that way. You're younger, you need more direct instruction, more direct help and time in the classroom, whereas in high school you're expected to do a little bit more of that on your own time. Okay? Because there's just a lot more material to go over. Okay, in terms of exams, okay, so should you, and this is pretty rare, achieve a mark of less than 50% on an exam, you will be asked to come in and work on some stuff with me. Know that there are no rewrites. Okay? I will give you 2 weeks notice of any unit exam. That's tons of time for you to study, come in and see me for help, okay, all of that kind of good stuff, okay, but there are no rewrites. Okay? If you fail a test, again, that's pretty rare, okay, but if you do, there'll still be an opportunity for you to get a grade correction. Okay? That means you come in, you work with me, you finish up a little assignment, and I bump your grade a little bit. Okay? Again, it's not something you have to do very often. Okay. All right. Fairness versus equality. Okay? We often say that these are the same, but they're really not. Okay? Everybody comes from a different place. Everybody's got different things going on in their life. So to treat everybody exactly the same isn't really fair. All right? So I will do my best to make decisions based on what I know of what's going on for you, and I'll try and be fair in that way. Okay? The example of this that I always give happened about 13 years ago. My whole class was lined up to hand in their lab reports, because back then we did that on paper. Okay? And so they're all handing them in, and the last 2 people in line don't have theirs done. Okay? The first person, she's standing there and she's standing like this. Like she's swaying and she's green. And she looks like she'd have to get better to die. She looks that sick. Because back then, we came to school, we were sick, we just toughed it out. And I'm like, are you okay, or are you going to literally fall down right here? It's like, well, no, I've definitely felt better, Mr. Career, but I don't have my lab report done. I'm like, you had a week to do that. Like, why isn't it done? Well, I left it till the last minute, and then last night, my parents had this big fight, and they both stormed out of the house, and I had to feed my brothers and sisters. All we had was frozen chicken. I took it out of the freezer, I didn't cook it enough, and we all got sick and spent the whole night throwing up, and I don't have my lab report done. So, I felt bad, but at the same time, I'm a jerk, so I made sure that I pointed out that, you know, when you leave things till the last minute, that's when calamity strikes. Calamity knows when you're unprepared, and that's always when it chooses to strike. That's Murphy's Law. Okay? But at the same time, it was a bit outside of her control. Okay? I gave her an extension to get it done. Guy behind her, to his credit, was brutally honest with me. Mr. Cader, I do not have my lab done, which was not an odd occurrence most of the time. Okay? And I'm like, again? Why this time? Well, the season finale of my favorite show was on, and I fell asleep while I was watching it, and I didn't get it done. And taking the late penalty, just get it when you can. Okay? I didn't treat them equally. One took a late penalty, the other got an extension, but I think I was fair. Okay? So if you ever think I haven't been fair, right, you can come talk to me about it after class. Okay? But lots of times it's probably because you don't know the whole story. Okay. And then lastly, accountability. Okay, remember that, again, this is your success is your responsibility. I'm here to help you with that. I'm here to, you know, facilitate that success. But in the end, how successful you are is dependent on how much you want to work. Okay, how much time do you want to put in? How willing are you to sacrifice some things sometimes? Okay, that stuff is all up to you, but you have to be accountable for that. Okay, and so that's going to rest more on you. Okay, I give plenty of time for assignments to get done. If I assign something to you on a Tuesday, the earliest it would be due would be Friday. Okay? The shortest turnaround you'll ever get from me is 2 school days. Okay? Now that doesn't mean you're going to get 2 class periods to work on. It just means 2 school days before I would expect it. And I honestly can't remember the last time I made a turnaround that short. Okay? Most of the time it's 2 school days and there ends up being a weekend in there. Okay? Or like, you know, it's 4 days, whatever, but it's usually lots of time so that you've got a chance to come in and see me for help if you need it. You know, manage your time, plan around your other activities that you got going on, okay? It would really be unfair for me to assign you 4 hours worth of work and say it's due tomorrow, okay? I would never do that because that is brutally unfair, okay? And it doesn't help you to develop time management and good work habits and stuff like that, so I won't do that, okay? So you can expect to have lots of time to get things done, okay? And get in and get help if you need. All right, questions on any of that stuff? Okay, so to do with your marks. Okay, the first thing is that I will not discuss your mark with you in class in front of everybody. I can't do that, it's a FOIP thing, okay? So if you have a question about your mark, just come and see me after class, unless it's, I added it wrong. If I added wrong, just come and see me right away. It's not, I mean, it's embarrassing, but it's embarrassing for me, not you, okay? That's fine, okay? But if it's, I don't understand why I got this mark, or I don't like this mark, okay, that come and talk to me after class about, okay? But know that when I return an assignment or a lab, I go over it in its entirety with the class. So if you're following along, you'll probably have a pretty good idea why you got the mark you did. But if you still have questions, after class, come and see me. Okay, your marks will be distributed according to the syllabus. We'll go through that in a minute. Okay, assignments and labs are to be handed in on time. Late assignments are penalized 30% immediately. Okay, I'm not one of those teachers who goes, that's 10% a day or whatever, because then I have to keep track of how many days late it is. And in my mind, there aren't different degrees of late. Something isn't getting later. Okay, it's like alive or dead. You're one or the other. You're on time or you're late. Okay, and there aren't different degrees of that. So, everything will be due at the start of class on the due date. Okay, so for you guys, most of the time that'll be 1:54. Okay, make sure it's submitted in Google Classroom by that time because I will tag it in Google Classroom to be due at 1:54. Okay, unless it's a Friday and then it'll be different. Okay, start of class on the due date. Okay, that's when it's due. If it isn't in by then, it'll automatically be tagged late. Okay, now here's why I do that. There's 2 reasons. First reason is I mark quickly. Okay, I plan when things are going to be due around when I have time to do the marking. You will always get your assignments back the next day, at the latest. Sometimes you'll have them back before the end of class. Sometimes. No, I'm not going to promise that will happen all the time. But, okay, I will promise that all the time. You will get it back the next day. Okay, so if I can turn around 30 labs in one day, it's not unreasonable to expect you can get 1 lab done, okay, in a couple of days. Right? The second reason is I'm going to go over the lab, okay, in its entirety the next day. It would hardly be fair for someone who sits there and writes down all the answers to hand it in and get 100% over somebody who worked their butt off to get it in on time.
Do we always have to submit it in Google Classroom, or can we like print it off and just write it and hand it to you?
No, I want it only in Google Classroom simply because it can't get lost.
Right.
Okay, so yeah, I don't want to take it in on paper. Yeah? Yeah, is there a problem with Google Classroom for you?
I don't know, I just like writing stuff down.
Okay. The reason is most things I set up so they have rubrics and it I can quickly mark it that way. If you wanted to, we could do maybe like you take a picture of it after you've written it and submit that.
That works.
Okay. That we can do.
That's
Okay? Just make sure I can read your writing. Just the other part of that is
you will.
I got people that if I have them handed in, it'll be like handed in with a bottle of Tylenol. Okay, good. Yeah, so just make sure, guys, that they are in on time, okay? Because I am going to turn them around quickly, okay? And you're going to get them back right away. Because I want to be able to review them with you when it's still fresh in your mind. If I hand something back 2 weeks after you hand it in, you've forgotten all about it by then, okay? And the learning value of it greatly decreases. So, okay, you will get it back the next day, always. 22 years I've been teaching. Failed to do it 1 time. It was the day my son Luke was born. I stand by my decision to hold my wife's hand while she squeezed out a kid, as opposed to sitting there marking labs. Okay, it was the right decision. I stand by that decision. Okay, I got the mark for the next day after that. Okay, all right. Yeah, so like I said, due at the start of class on the due date. I'll remind you of that, okay? I put them on the board, but obviously Google Classroom has it all set up in there as well, so just make sure you're doing that. Okay, the course syllabus. So in Science 10, there are 4 units, okay? Unit 1, Energy and Matter and Chemical Change, we usually just call chemistry, okay? And in the chemistry units, we'll go over structure and history of the atom, naming compounds, writing chemical formulas, which, you know, for most of you will be mostly review. There'll be a few things that'll be a little bit new there. Okay, then we go into chemical reactions, chemical change, the mole equation, okay, stuff like that. That'll be new for you. Okay, that unit tends to be the longest one. We'll probably finish it around Thanksgiving. It's usually about 5 to 6 weeks. Okay. Then after that, we have Unit 2, Cycling Matter and Living Systems. We call that biology. Okay, so in that we'll be going over cells, parts of the cell, functions and transport of the cell, and then we go further into structure and function and transport in multicellular organisms, okay, and kind of go from there. It tends to be about 4 weeks. We finish it around the middle of November, like Remembrance Day, Parent-Teacher Interviews, kind of somewhere in there. Okay. Then Unit 3 is physics. So we start that middle of November, and we usually have a unit exam on that right before Christmas. It's a 5 to 6 week unit as well. Okay. And then our last, in the physics, we go over things like movement, we go over energy, acceleration, graphing. Okay. There's a bunch of experiments in that one as well. Okay. And then our last unit is kind of a hodgepodge of everything. There's not a lot that continues on into any other course. I've taught it in as few as 5 days, okay, and as many as 2 weeks, but it's a pretty short unit. That said, it's still worth the same amount as all the others, so it's still important in that way. Okay. All right, and then that one will, like, usually we start that after Christmas, or maybe we get a couple of days before Christmas of that unit, and we finish it after Christmas. Okay. So your marks distribution goes like this. Your unit exams are 40% of your final marks. So do the math. Each unit exam is 10%, okay, of your final grade. Right? Your labs, projects, and assignments, all the stuff that you're handing in for me in class, the stuff you can ask for help with, okay, that, or your work collaboratively or whatever, that's 30% of your final grade. Okay, quizzes. I haven't talked about those yet, but quizzes are worth 10% of your final grade. Here's how quizzes will work. Other than tomorrow and Tuesday, you will have quizzes every Tuesday and every Thursday, unless I tell you otherwise. They're short, 5, 10 minutes tops, okay? And I post a practice quiz the night before. So at 3:30 on Monday and at 3:30 on Wednesday, I post a practice quiz, which sometimes is the actual quiz. And sometimes it's the actual quiz with 2 numbers different. In other words, do the practice quiz, because if you do the practice quiz, you're going to do well in the quiz the next day. Okay? And I got no problem with, if I give you that quiz and you're like, I don't know how to do question 2, or call my friend, okay, or we have to do a group chat and we'll figure it out. That's fine. That's the idea, in fact. Okay? I want you to figure out a way to do it. Okay? If you need to work with somebody else to do that, I'm okay with that.
Does it give you the answers right after?
No, I don't always have, sometimes I do and sometimes I don't. But yeah, you could always, because you have a period 4, pop it and check it and bunch or something. All right, so that's how those quizzes will work. But again, there's going to be a lot of them, and they only add up to 10%. So by the end of the year, if you got 2 a week, they're worth a fraction of a percent of your final mark each. So if you do bad on one, it's not the end of the world. Okay, it's not going to affect your mark. Okay, if you do bad on all of them, well, that adds up to 10%, but that doesn't happen. So okay, just know that they're just a review tool. They're not really something that allows me to mark you per se. Okay, they tell you, oh, I didn't do well on that one. I need to work on naming molecular compounds. Or they tell me, gee, the class as a whole didn't do well on that. We need another day or 2 on that topic. Okay, helps me to kind of plan where we're going. So that's the purpose of them. They're just a review tool. Okay, and then your final exam is 20% of your final grade. Okay, that's a 2-hour exam at the end of the day. All right. Questions on any of that? Okay. Other things that people usually ask. Can I have food and drink in here? Yes, you can, but if you make a mess, please clean it up. Okay? Please make sure your whatever you eat is, you know, appropriate and respectful of everybody else. Okay? Like if you bring in a 2-liter bottle of Coke and a 500-gram bag of Doritos as a snack, you're going to annoy everyone, okay? Because your bottle will be hissing all the time, and you'll be crunching on chips, and I'll give you a lecture on nutrition because that's awful, okay? But yeah, just know that, yeah, pick your stuff. I think a granola bar, a piece of fruit, or something like that. Okay, I'm okay with that. That's fine. Yeah, that's cool.
Is white cheddar
Yeah,
popcorn okay?
it's cool. Yeah, that's
You want some?
no, I can't eat popcorn.
You want?
So yeah, you can have food and drink in here. That's no problem. Okay, just try not to make a mess. If you do, you clean it up. And yeah, pick stuff that's respectful to everybody. Okay, don't bring in like really smelly curry or something so the whole room smells like curry for 5 days. Okay, and I only say that because a couple of years ago, before the pandemic, we had someone who brought in like a 4-course meal to their final exam in the gym. Okay, like they had a roast chicken from Sobeys, right? Brought that in. They had like a salad and some potatoes and like drinks, and it was like, when are you gonna write your test? Okay, but they ate this, and the whole gym smelled like roasted chicken, which, you know, it smelled nice, but it's distracting if you're writing a test and you're a little bit hungry and it's not your chicken. Okay, so it can be a distraction to others, so just keep that in mind. Okay, nearest bathrooms are right outside these doors. Okay, the girls' bathroom's right there, the guys' bathroom's just down the hall. Okay, try and use those ones if you have to leave to go to the bathroom, so you're not wandering over the whole school. Okay, we already talked about the fire exits. Can you have your phone in here? Kind of already talked about that. Yes, obviously you can, because you're probably going to be using it. Okay, just use it in a mature fashion. If you're sending a bunch of snaps instead of doing what you're supposed to, okay, that's not really what you're supposed to be doing. Can I listen to music in here? Sometimes. Okay, there are appropriate times for that, and there are inappropriate times for that. If I'm teaching directly like I am right now, then I expect both ears to be free of earbuds and for you to be paying attention. If we're doing some seat work or you're answering some questions and you want to put them in, I'm totally okay with that. Okay, so the answer to that is conditionally yes. It depends on what we're doing. Okay, handouts. You're not going to get a lot of those from me. You're going to get that sheet. You're going to get a periodic table and data sheet, and that's probably it. Okay, I hand out very little paper because everything's up in your classroom. If you are to lose your periodic table / data sheet, there'll be a few spares up at the front here, okay? But if they're gone, then you'll have to print your own from Google Classroom because it's on there. Okay? All right, anything I didn't cover? Any burning questions you have that I haven't answered? Okay. Give you about 3-4 minutes here, and then we're going to get into the first lesson. So you'll need to have your notes package open too. Unit 1, Lesson 1 on alchemy and atomic models. So in your 3 or 4 minute little break here, try and get that file open on your phone for now. Okay? And if anybody needs their username and password, now's a good time. last year, it should be exactly the same. Oh, same, just log into that group, that is your username and that is your password. Anybody else need their username and password?
Yes.
Yeah?